Hi, this is Chapter 6, Factoring Polynomial. First, let's look at the GCF. The GCF of two or more terms is the largest term that can be divided into all the terms. If I have a variable term, then the GCF is the term with the smallest exponent. The smallest exponent. Okay? So for example, the GCF of 35x to the fourth, 14x to the third, and 49x squared. First, the GCF of 35, 14, and 49 is 7 because 7 can be divided into 49, 14, and 35. For the x squared, x to the third and x to the fourth, the GCF is x squared because x squared is the smallest exponent. Okay, so together the GCF is 7x squared. Now the GCF is very important because it allowed us to factor. So for example, factor 20x to the third plus 15x squared minus 5. And so the GCF is then 5x. Again, 5 divided into 5, 15, and 20. Nicely, that is. And the smallest exponent between x squared, and x to the third is x. So now we want something to multiply to the GCF and give us the original polynomial. So it turns out that if I take 5x times the parentheses of a trinomial, 4x squared plus 3x minus 1, together the product will give us the original polynomial. Next, factor trinomial x squared plus bx plus c. That is very easy because it is the product of x plus m times x plus n, where m times n is c and m plus n is b. So it is the product of c and the sum of b. So for example, factor x squared plus 13x plus 42. And so c is 42, b is 13. We want something to multiply to give us 42, add to 13. we have 6 and 7 because 6 times 7 is 42 and 6 plus 7 is 13. So therefore, the x squared plus 13x plus 42 is the product of x plus 6 times x plus 7. They are both positive. Next, factor x squared plus 10x minus 24. Once again, C is negative 24, B is 10. I want a product of negative 24 and the sum of 10. So something multiply to negative 24 and add to 10. It looks like negative 12 and 2 will be good. So x squared plus 10x minus 24 is the product of x plus 12 times x minus 2. Again, because negative 2 times 12 is negative 24. At the same time, negative 2 plus 10 is actually negative 2 plus 12 is 10. Now, what if there is a 2 x squared? What what can we do? Anyway, that is that is that is the next topic. So factor ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not 1. We want to do that by grouping. These are the steps. So step 1, multiply a times c. Step 2, once again, I want two integers that multiplied give us c, add them, give us b. Step 3, we want to rewrite the bx using the two integers from step 2. And lastly, we can factor by grouping. Just what it says, grouping means you're going to group them. So factor 3x squared plus 2x minus 8 by grouping. First, a is 3, b is 2, c is negative 8. So step 1, a times 2. Actually, a times c, which is 3 times negative 8, negative 30, negative 24. I want two numbers that multiply, give us negative 24, and add them, give us 2. And that is 6 and negative 4. 6 and negative 4 multiply, give us negative 24, add them, give us 2. And so we want to rewrite the 2x using the 6x minus 4. And so we have 4 terms now. Next, we want to group. So we want to group these 4 terms into 2 groups. We'll take the first 2 and the last 2. And so for this first group of 3x squared plus 6x, I want to factor using the GCF. Also factor the GCF of the second group, negative 4x minus 8. And so the GCF for the first group, that is 3x. For the second group is negative 4. And so 3x times x plus 2, this is the product of x, 3x squared plus 6x. Negative 4 times x plus 2 is also a product of negative 4 minus 8. We are not done just yet. So we want to factor the factor of x plus 2. So if I take x plus 2 away from this group, then I have 3x left over. If I take the x plus 2 away from this group, I also have the negative 4 left over. So therefore, the product of x plus 2 times 3x minus 4 is the original polynomial. Now, the difference of squares or the difference of 2 squares, a squared minus b squared is a plus b times a minus b. So for example, x squared minus 49, we can write as x squared parentheses minus 7 parentheses squared. So like a squared minus b squared, and a is x, b is 7. So therefore, x plus 7 times x minus 7 is the factor of x squared minus 49. What about this one? Factor x squared 9 or 9x squared minus 16y to the 6. Once again, I want the a squared minus the b squared. So therefore, you can see that 3x squared, actually 3x parentheses squared is the 9x squared. and the 4y to the third parentheses square also equal 16y to the 6. Remember, 3x times 3x, 4y to the third times 4y to the third. So therefore, you got 16y to the 6 for the 4y to the third, and you got the 9x squared when you multiply 3x times 3x. And so the factor then would be 3x plus 4y to the third times the 3x minus 4y to the third. Last but not least, we have the sum of squares. The sum of squares is not factorable. And so if I want to factor the x squared plus 64, 64 is 8 squared, but because the sum of square is not factorable, then x squared plus 64 is not factorable.